Well, in a day and age of a million ways to connect with people and get your brand out to them, what is the differential that advertising at a train station or on a taxi will make for your brand? This is what keeps Shamy Naidu up every single night. He's an executive at Transit Ads, and he's here to tell us a little bit more about how you can make your brand visible in a train station context, in a taxi context. So let's kick it off with branding at train stations, which is becoming a lot more popular. An incredible footfall and a great way for a brand to really get a message out there, right?
100%. Thank you, Arye. I think, we look at the landscape of South Africa, and more especially the commuter landscape in South Africa. Recent dips and surveys have shown that approximately 21.5 million commuters travel via public transport on a national basis, which is incredible. If you look at these people, they are economically active, they are decision makers, they are influencers in that respect, which is awesome for an advertiser. It's awesome for an advertiser in terms of wanting to engage with these people, because these decision makers have a choice. They have a choice in terms of what brands they choose, what products they choose, what products they consume, what influences their decision making in that respect. If we take that down to a rail network perspective, of that 21.5 million, at least a quarter of those commuters travel through train infrastructure within South Africa. Now, if you look at the PRASA network in South Africa, there are three main areas where PRASA is concentrated, and that's in the Western Cape, in KZN, in eThekwini, and in Gauteng through Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, and Tshwane. If you take that, that's approximately 5.5 to 6 million commuters that travel through a train environment or train infrastructure and train station on a daily basis, which is absolutely amazing for an advertiser if they want to communicate to those specific people. What also is important is that in these environments, and I'll take two of them in particular, if you look at one that's right here in Johannesburg, which is Park Station, and Park Station is aptly positioned in terms of, and we'll go a little bit about that in terms of multimodal or intermodal transport in that respect. So Park Station commutes or attributes approximately 1.1 million of those passengers on a daily basis. The largest being Cape Town Station, which is an approximate 1.5 to 1.8 million commuters on a daily basis that go through there. Now, what is important is if you look at where Park Station is positioned. Park Station is positioned in a multinodal zone or transport zone in that respect. And what we mean by that is there is an integrated transport facility. So at Park Station, you have the integration of taxis, you have the integration of buses, you have the Redzone or BRT system that connects into Park Station, and then most recently now our rapid transport system, which is the Gautrain, also comes through. So what that does as well is it gives a commuter options. So you're not stuck with just one transport zone that you can come through. You can travel by train, you can get off the train at Park Station, you can jump onto a BRT bus, you can get into a taxi.
A full experience.
So it's the full experience, and I think it's what if you look at that and international trends, it's typically how that has all evolved in terms of creating hubs and transport.
Absolutely.
Hubs, which is amazing. The other big thing about train stations, and you've probably heard a lot about investment and a lot of upgrades that have been happening in PRASA, for example. So PRASA has spent over 70 billion rand so far in train upgrades. So there's rolling stock upgrades, there's station upgrades. If you look at Park Station, it's not just a train station, it is a retail hub. So this is the emphasis of where it's going. It's almost bringing retail to the consumer, which is so important. Not only is it a retail hub, now financial institutions have also got in there. So you have the major banks that are located in Park Station. You have the retail hubs. You have then another big one, which is also something we all South Africans do, is quick service restaurants. There's plethora of quick service restaurants within Park Station. So it's created that consumer hub, it's created the transport hub, it's created an integration of all of that, which is amazing.
And a great place to advertise is what it's created too.
Exactly.
And when it comes to that advertising and that sort of communications, what is your advice to creatives around really creating impactful stuff? Is it about being short and sharp? Is it about using a lot more visual than text? What are you seeing working in terms of the creative that you're putting into train stations?
Okay, so I think, and it's a brilliant question you've asked, because if we look at the journey of a commuter through a train station, okay, there are different zones, there are different touch points, there are different areas, there are different mindsets of how a commuter reacts in each of these zones. So what we've done as Transit Ads is we've developed a system called EMM, which is actually it's called environmental media mapping. And what we've done is we've looked at the journey of a commuter from the time he's either entered the station or he's got off the train, and his journey through the train station. So looking at key points in terms of when is he in a rush, when does he have time to actually engage further. So high dwell time areas, high frequency areas. So, and we've planned our advertising in and about these areas. So where you'll find that there is very little time for engagement, we've gone with rather large format advertising, which is impactful. The messaging is immediately absorbed. And in zones where there is a lot more dwell time, we've looked at smaller advertising. The frequency of this advertising is a lot smaller, more frequent, more copy intensive rather than the big messaging and the big impact. So it then creates it. So what we've also done is, in a lot of these zones, we have a product called Transit TV. So in our Transit TV zones, we normally locate them in high dwell time areas. So Transit TV, a very nice platform. It's a interrelated system of advertising and infotainment. So we've got things like news, weather, sport, and that is then interchanged with advertising that is constantly on an hour loop that it normally goes and spans through. So for a creative person or person looking at targeting either brand reinforcement, new product launch, we have different platforms and different sizes of advertising. And
different insights as well into the consumer. 100%. Fantastic. Well, it certainly seems like an incredible way to connect with consumers. In a sort of a sentence, what would your word be to marketing managers who are looking at this as a potential way of communicating with current and future audiences?
For me, the first thing is for you to come out there and experience it for yourself. There is no other way of buying advertising unless you, as the purchaser, have experienced it for yourself. It is very difficult to buy advertising unless you've absorbed it, unless you've come into those environments and understand a day in the life of a commuter. And that is what's so important. And once you've got that, it is so easy to go back to your desk and decide on the creative message, on the execution, because what we try and it's very important, and it's not stick to anyone in terms of who the creative person is, but it's not a one size fits all shoe.
Absolutely, it has to be tailored.
It needs to be tailored for the environment, for those specific commuters, and understanding who you're actually engaging with, which is important.
Absolutely, and there are 21.5 million people waiting to be engaged with. Some exciting opportunities for marketers, certainly in that space. That there is an executive at Transit Ads speaking to us a little bit more about advertising in a train station and the millions of people that you can potentially reach. Shamy, thank you so much for coming to talk to us a little bit more about it.
Awesome, thank you very much for having me on here.